Before I start working in 3ds Max, I like to change certain things in the UI, the user interface, so that I have more space to work in. There are a couple of things that I can remove. For example, the Scene Explorer, I don't want to use it. I'm not going to use it, at least for this class. I'm not going to use the Scene Explorer. So I can right click here and uncheck where it says Scene Explorer. I can do the same things to the Viewports tab here, menu, so I can go and uncheck viewport layout tabs, because I have these are the viewports and I have it laid out according to how I want it to be. I have my top viewport, 2 side elevations, and then my perspective. So I don't want to use this, so I can uncheck and that goes away. The other thing that I'm not going to use is this ribbon. I can minimize the ribbon like so, but I can also completely remove the ribbon from the view by clicking here where it says show ribbon. I have more space to work in, so I can see the viewports much more clearly. But if you ever want to go back, you can go to customize and say load UI and click on default UI, which brings all of those things back into your interface. So the next thing that I want to talk about in this video is navigating the viewports. You know your viewport is selected when you see this yellow outline. You must make sure that this yellow outline is there in the viewport that you're working in right now. So let's say I want to work in the top viewport. I can go to that viewport, and if I right click on the viewport, that yellow border is visible. So in order for me to talk about the navigation, I need to create some content here. So for now I'm just going to go here on the standard primitives and create a box. I don't really care what the size is, I'm just going to create a box like that. So in a viewport you can use your scroll wheel in your mouse and scroll in and out, so zoom in and out. Also, if you click or press on your scroll wheel and move, it pans the view in your viewport that you've selected. You can do the same thing here, so I'm going to right click to select that particular viewport and scroll in and scroll out. You can move the same thing here, right click in the viewport anywhere to make sure that the yellow outline is there, and scroll in and scroll out. If you press on your wheel and move your mouse around, it pans that particular view. It's a little bit different in the perspective view. Obviously, if you go here, right click, the viewport is selected, you can scroll in and scroll out, zoom in and zoom out, and you can do the same thing by pressing the scroll wheel. You can pan around, but if you want to orbit, what you need to do is you need to press on your Alt key on your keyboard, ALT, the Alt key on your keyboard, and if you press on your mouse scroll wheel, you can orbit around. The same thing can be done using these tools here. So on the bottom here you have a couple of tools that you can use. The zoom tool, so you can zoom in and zoom out. You can zoom all, so you can zoom all, and then zoom extents of selected. So in this particular view you can zoom extents. Then you can zoom extent of all selected, so in all of the viewports. Then you can change the field of view in your, especially in your perspective view. It doesn't work in other viewports, but in your perspective view these tools change a bit. So if you right click on your perspective view, you can change the field of view. So you can change the field of view, then you can pan around, and then you have the orbit tool, so you can orbit. Same function as using your Alt key and your scroll button. And then you can maximize this viewport. If you wanted to work in one viewport, if you click here, it maximizes the viewport, so you're working in the perspective view only, and you can go back to see all of the views by toggling this viewport toggle button here. One piece of advice though, don't mess around with this view cube, because if you mess around with that, it's really hard to get back to where you were. It doesn't really serve much of a function, honestly. So don't mess around with the view cube in order to see the views. Just use your mouse and your keyboard shortcut keys that we talked about in order to change the view of your viewports. In the next video, let's talk about how to create different shapes and geometrical objects using 3D Max's tools.